Well, everybody, welcome back to another Wealth Management Advisory Club meeting. I know this meeting today is at 4 p.m. The reason why this is happening is because there is a P2P event at 5 p.m. So to avoid any conflict of interest, we decided to be the nice people and actually move our meeting to 4, so there's no conflict of interest, like I stated earlier. However, today we do have a very, very special guest with us today, Audrey Keohane from Bickling Financial Services, Inc. Just to give her a little background for anyone who does not know who she is. Audrey graduated from Bentley University in 2019 with a bachelor's of finance. She previously worked at the Boston Marriott Cambridge as their assistant director of finance. She's passionate about personal finance and she enjoys spending her free time outside. You don't have to find her hiking up in the White Mountains, visiting her family dogs, or volunteer at her local animal shelter. Fun fact, she works with CFP Board Ambassador Spencer Best, CFP certified. So with that, Audrey, I'm going to leave the floor to you. And guys, whoever is on Zoom, please have your cameras on. Please engage with this meeting as we always do all our meetings. Please give her your undivided attention. So, Audrey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you guys for inviting me here. I'm excited to talk to you and get to know you and talk about myself a little bit. We have a little bit of a small group, so I kind of want to make this more conversational rather than me just talking at you. I have things to say, but I don't know if it's exactly what you guys want to hear about. So I'm very open. I'll answer any questions you have about wealth management, careers, my life, and kind of the pathway I've taken. I have a very minimal presentation that I will share. I'm used to Teams, so I'm just gonna share this, and then I'm not used to Google Slides. 1 second.
That's all right. Take all the time you need.
While
you're figuring that out, Wealth Management Advisory Club, after today's meeting, please stay behind. I do have some important announcements to make, so just want to throw that out there. Yeah, back to the regularly scheduled programming.
Okay, great. So I figured it out. My name is Audrey Keohane. I'm coming from Bickling Financial Services. I know Jack reached out to an advisor here named Spencer Betts, who is also on the CFP board. So I have a lot of good insight in that regard, working under him. Like I said, I want this to be conversational, but I have kind of like a structured going through this presentation. But again, it doesn't have to be like that. Just to give you, if you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and ask me anything anytime. Or if you want to put it in the chat, that is good too. I don't know if I can technically see the chat. Maybe I can see the chat. But yep, at any time. And at the end, I also will have some just time to answer questions as you get them. And it doesn't have to be about things I'm talking about, just anything that comes to your mind. Like I said, I want this to be informational for you, and I just want to know what you guys want to know about. So what I have lined up to talk about, I'll introduce myself and my firm. I'll talk a little bit about starting a career in wealth management, if that's something that's interesting to you. A little bit of the day-to-day life in the office, talking about a CFP certification and the pathway to get that, and specifically my journey to get it. And then I'll talk a little bit about CFP demographics. So if you have any questions about those along the way, please let me know. Okay. So again, my name is Audrey. I graduated from Bentley University in Waltham, Massachusetts in 2019. I have a degree in finance. Right out of college, I got a job at Marriott. It was called the Voyage Program. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I did the accounting and finance track. It's basically just a management program, a year-long thing that you can go through, a Marriott management track. And at the end of the 1 year, you would be an assistant manager at a Marriott hotel. I started in June of 2019 at the Copley Marriott as their Voyage member there in the finance and accounting department, but then quickly moved to the Boston Marriott Cambridge because they actually needed a director of finance over there. So I just filled that role. And I was there until March of 2020. As you can guess, the hotel was closed due to COVID. Nobody came. It kind of was like an overnight transition, and I was furloughed for a few months. During that time, I kind of had some time to think about what I really wanted to do with my life. Going into college, I knew that I wanted to be a financial advisor. I actually took 3 courses in financial planning when I was at Bentley. The only reason I really went into corporate finance right out of college is that's just the easier way to go, in my opinion, out of college, because they recruit really early and you just kind of get that out of the way. And it's a lot easier from from corporate to an independent RIA firm than vice versa. So I really wanted to get the corporate experience before I went into something smaller. But during COVID, it kind of gave me the opportunity to think about what I really wanted to do. That led me to looking into jobs surrounding financial planning in the smaller firms. But I found that the smaller firms don't really put their jobs out on LinkedIn and Indeed and those kind of spaces, which is usually where you would go first. So I was getting frustrated. I didn't really know how to go about starting a career in finance. I didn't really know like what the best pathway to go was. So I actually ended up emailing my financial advisor professor at Bentley, and I had him for 3 classes, so we were pretty close. And I just asked for his advice really, and he ended up giving me a name, Spencer Betts, who was looking for someone right out of college to help him at his firm because he was trying to expand. And so I was like, oh, that sounds great. So I emailed him and said I was interested in joining a firm. If he's not looking anymore, if he knows anybody who is looking, he ended up needing someone still. So I did end up working for him. So I joined Bickling in August of 2020, and I'm still here over 2 years later. I started basically doing the lowest level things as you would as just coming out of college. So they were entirely paper-based when I first got here. So one of my first things I did was took the drawers and bins of paper that they had, and I started to organize it electronically, which doesn't sound very fun, but it actually was very helpful because I got to see the paperwork and kind of everything that they have accumulated on their clients over the years, and it was really interesting. Around the same time when I started, they were actually moving their entire book of business from LPL to Fidelity. So it was another good time to start because they needed help transitioning all of the clients, which means I had to contact all of the clients and do paperwork for all of them as well. So I really kind of dove in headfirst there. So after all of that, after a couple of months of proving that I was, a good worker and I liked what I was doing, they also built up trust in me as well. And they said that they would be willing to pay for my CFP education and just that process going through there. So in January of 2020, 2021, I started that process as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. And I think just in a small firm like Bickling, it was really easy to kind of make yourself stand out and allow them to trust you. And my role has just increased since then. In November of 2022, so in just a couple months, I'm studying for the CFP exam. And so I know just after that, it's going to be I'm going to play even a bigger part in the firm. So I'm excited for that. Any questions so far? Okay. So moving on to my firm, Bickling Financial. This is a nice little picture of all of us taken later last year, I believe. There has been someone that actually has come aboard since then as well. And it's funny because this picture would have been, if you took this picture 3 years ago in 2019, it would only be of 5 people. They've grown significantly since 2019, even since I got there in 2020. They were just a team of 3 advisors and 2 employees, and then they've acquired 2 firms, one in 2019, one in 2020. And it's even doubled since I just joined in 2020. So it's very rapidly growing, which is another reason why it's a good place for me to be at the moment, especially with hopefully getting my CFP certification in November. They're just very open to expanding and allowing people to come in and expand their book of business. It was founded in 1984, so it's a very old company. It was founded by Dorothy Bickling, who is sitting right in the middle of the bench there. She still works every single day. She is just an amazing person and amazing person to work underneath because she was one of the first women to get her CFP. So she's just kind of like a staple in the industry. She knows kind of everything there is to know about financial planning, and it's really interesting to learn from her. We are fee-based financial planning and wealth management. Basically, that means that we can't say we're fee only. Typically, RIAs are fee only because they charge a fee based on the amount of assets that are under their management. We can't say that because we also do insurance sales if a client needs to do that. So we don't usually encourage doing it. We don't do that business very often. But if a client is in need of an additional insurance or they don't have any insurance, we have the ability to open an account for them and basically sell it to them. So that's why we can say that we're fee-based rather than fee only. So starting a career in wealth management, I kind of talked about my pathway and how I started out in it. There is basically 2 paths you can go down. You can go down the smaller independent RIA firm route, or you can go down, the larger firm, Merrill Lynch, JP Morgan, those kind of firms. There's good and bad things about both pathways, and there's not really a right or wrong way to go. It depends on what you're more interested in. I can't speak too much to the larger firm side of things and what to expect in that sense. I can tell you why I didn't choose that. Typically, if you go that route, you are more responsible for getting your own clients. That might include cold calling some people or talking to your family or getting network that way. Whereas an independent firm, you might grow with the company. And as they need more, excuse me, as they have a higher capacity to get clients, they'll have them move towards you, or eventually you can buy out some of their clients. Sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water. A good thing about going to a large firm is that there's going to be more people around you. So I know as young people, we love to, be around other people our age. That's something that you would get at a large firm and have that whole experience. Whereas at an independent firm, you might not get that side of things. So that is a big kind of deciding factor. The culture is going to be a lot different depending on where you go. The compensation would be different. I think starting out in an independent firm, the compensation would be smaller than a large firm. I think you would get paid a higher amount, but I think the growth in an independent firm is a lot higher, and you can kind of grow faster and exponentially that way. Getting into the independent side, like I used the example of me talking to my professor earlier, using your connections and networking to get in. Definitely form a good relationship with your professors, form connections with people in your class. Like you're already one step ahead of the game because you guys have this this club, which is a really great way to get your foot in the door. And as you grow your business, you'll know other people who own businesses, and you can maybe you live in a different state and you can recommend someone else as your clients move. Maybe they want to go to a more local CFP and someone in that state. Networking is really huge part of a financial planning professional. There's also a huge demand for younger CFP professionals. A lot of CFPs are retirement age or, over 70 years old. So they need people to, they need a business continuity plan, and they want younger CFP professionals to come in and start training and start becoming familiar with their clients, because they might want to sell their business onto someone younger. There's not that many young CFPs out there, and it's a huge demand for them. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of growth opportunity with independent RIAs. If you prove yourself to the owner, there's just an exponential growth you can have there. Any other questions so far? A day-to-day life in the office, it's kind of hard to say exactly what each day looks like, because each day is so different, which is a great part about the job, in my opinion. You never really know what's going to happen one day to the next. I'd say on average, there's probably 1 to 2 client meetings per day, per advisor. As an associate advisor, I sit in on meetings and I help prepare and follow up. Preparation before client meetings is huge. It's really, really important to get the preparation down. For our office, we have a 2-sided PDF that we fill out for every client that I actually designed, because it's just really important to have one process. As the company is growing and growing, you want to make sure that we're doing the same thing for every client. So we started using these prep sheets that you go through every single client before your meeting, make sure you get you research every part about them. If there's anything that's missing, that's something you bring up during the meeting. You don't want to leave the meeting having forgotten to talk about something, because sometimes clients, take forever to get back to you. And this meeting is really like the 1 or 2 times a year that you can talk to them. So it's really important to get everything done that day. An example of this is required minimum distribution. I don't know how much people know about the specifics of wealth management, but people with a retirement account, if they're over the age 72, they need to take a specific amount out of their retirement accounts per year. It's our responsibility to do those calculations and make sure that they're getting them out. If they don't take that withdrawal, it's a 50% penalty, which is an insane penalty. That's if you have a $100,000 required minimum distribution and you don't take it, that's $50,000 that you have to give to the government. So it's a really big deal, and it's something that we really emphasize. But without that preparation before, you wouldn't be able to talk to the client about what they need to take, and you'll be scrambling during the meeting if they ask you about it. So you really need to prepare for what they're going to ask you and have it off the top of your head or on the sheet next to you. Examples are if they don't have a beneficiary on their retirement account, or if they've been taking a lot of money this year and you want to ask them about that, like what's going on in your life that you're taking this kind of too much money for this year. During the meetings, taking notes is very, very important as well. You don't want to have the client request something, like they request that you send them $10,000 when the meeting's over. You don't want to forget to write that down and not do it, because they're going to come back and say, why didn't you ever do that? And you'll have no record of them saying it to you. And it's kind of like a miscommunication, and that's just trust that's lost with them. So that's my job during the meeting. I sit in with the advisor and I take notes and make sure that nothing gets missed in the follow-up. And then, following up after the meeting, I send an email to every client after the meeting with a summary of what we talked about, anything that we need to follow up with, anything that they need to follow up with. And then I put everything into our CRM software, Salesforce. Also really important to track everything you talk to clients about, and especially with a growing company, making sure everyone's on the same page for each client. Interesting thing that I started during COVID. So I didn't really see meetings before COVID. But I'd say before, I think they were doing 100% of the meetings in person. And now it's probably even post, the worst of COVID, we're still doing probably 90% on Teams. or some sort of video chat. So it's kind of changed the dynamic in the client advisor relationship. I never saw the dynamic beforehand, but most people would rather not take the drive over to our office and would rather just, you can be in your pajamas and just turn the computer on and have a 10-minute discussion about where the investments are heading. Between meetings, typically clients call in, they want money. We are the ones to get them out to them. We have to do it right away. We can't ignore money requests, even if it seems ridiculous to us what they're requesting. Like, we have to send it to them. I usually just assign myself projects to help organize data. I'm kind of an organization freak. I feel like it's really important to have kind of an organized list of clients and everything about them. And so we're not ever looking stupid in front of clients and not knowing something about them. We do a lot of investment research. We're probably on 2 to 3 calls per day, probably more collectively as an office, about that mutual funds or ETF companies will put on with various topics. We were just on a recession watch with Capital Group, a very important topic right now. A lot of clients ask us about it, and we have to be prepared to talk about it with them. Going to lunches with fund companies, it's always great to get a free meal. So we spend a lot of our time doing investment research and internal meetings as well. So we have a meeting weekly about Salesforce to make sure that everyone's putting everything in there. We have a weekly meeting about operations to make sure everyone's on the same page with different operations of the company. We have weekly or bi-weekly investment meetings to see if we're doing the right thing with our clients' investments as a whole for the company. Down here, we have some of the technology we use. We talked about Salesforce and Teams. Right Capital is what we use for our financial planning software. So if a client is approaching retirement age and they want to know if they are ready for retirement financially, we will have probably 3 to 4 hour-long meetings with them over a few months, specifically putting data into this software, and they'll come up with some projections and give us a percentage of the success of if they think that it's going to be successful or not. So it's really helpful for clients that are approaching retirement age and they want to either retire early or they want to talk or work for 2 more years, and how much can they take out per month after that. So it's really helpful for us. And then Black Diamond is our investment platform that our clients can use just to see all of their investments and how they performed in relation to the benchmarks. And it's also another really helpful tool for our clients. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You said Black Diamond is like a platform for clients to see their investments. So is it like a profile for each client?
Mm-hmm.
And they see like the profits and all, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so Black Diamond is so Right Capital and Black Diamond are both client facing. So clients have logins to go in, and we pay for it as a company. So our clients will have this opportunity to use these platforms. Black Diamond specifically, it's like if you have your investments at Fidelity, if you have any accounts at Fidelity and you log in to Fidelity and see all of your accounts on the side, your total worth, and all of your investments and how they're doing. It's kind of like that. It's a little bit more in depth, and you can add, it automatically adds any accounts that we as a company hold for you, but you can also add in if you have like a 401k, you want to see how that's doing. And it kind of even holds us accountable because it shows how we're performing for our client in comparison to a benchmark. So like, for example, any growth stocks would be compared to like the S&P 500, just to show that, you know, we're we're worth it for you to invest your money with us. It's good to use in that regard on a longer scale. Obviously, like no one can really guarantee outperformance over a month period, especially right now. It's just been crazy this year. So we really do say, like, look at it over 5 years or similar timeframes like that to really see the performance. But it's a really good place for our clients to go and see all of their finances in one spot.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. So moving on to the CFP certification, which has consumed my life lately. There's 3 parts. I don't know how familiar you all are with the CFP certification, or if that's something you're really interested in. If you're looking to become a financial advisor or similar, CFP certification is definitely a great way to go. Most clients trust advisors who have the certification over those who don't. I think it's something like, I think the CFP board did a survey, and I think 90% of the client or the consumers said that they would take these certifications into account when looking for an advisor, and like 88% said that that's something that's important to them when looking for something like that. But it's a really high percentage, so it's just it goes to show how important it really is. And even besides that, it like teaches you so much about the comprehensive financial planning, wealth management ideals, and it's just a really good thing to have to be a fiduciary to your client. So basically, the way you go through the certification is that you start with education, or I guess you don't have to start with education, but that's kind of the first thing you learn about. So what I did is I went through Boston University, and I'm based in Boston, but it's all online and it's all self-paced, so it doesn't really matter which school you go to unless you want to do it in person. But if you're working full-time like I was, it's definitely important to do a self-paced one. So whenever you have time throughout the day, you can just do an hour here, an hour there of some of the education portion. The way it's designed is that it's 6 classes. There's introduction to financial planning, investments, insurance. There's estate planning, retirement planning, and tax planning. Each of those classes took about 3 months to go through self-paced. And then there's, quizzes and tests for each one. And then it's ended with a capstone project that I just finished actually at the beginning of September. That is essentially just a case study that you go through, and then you end with a video of yourself talking to a fake client, and you have to pretend that you're talking to them. It's kind of weird, but it was really fun actually. So I highly recommend going through Boston University if you're thinking of doing it, because it is a really good program. The experience, another good thing about going to an independent RIA is that I was working directly under a CFP. Actually, I was working directly under 6 CFPs at this company. And then if you're working under a CFP, that qualifies you for the apprenticeship course rather than the traditional course. The apprenticeship course is 2 years rather than 3 years, which is the usual course. So I've done my 2 years, and that's complete now. My education is complete, and I'm just waiting on the exam in November of 2022. The exam is 180 multiple choice questions, I think, and it's 6 hours. And it's all online. It's all just instant. You'll know if you pass. You won't know if you fail, because there's technically a passing grade, but if you're below that, they will tell you later on if you pass, because there's some questions that they may take away, and depending on how everyone did. So it's kind of an interesting way to grade. And my firm paid for the entire thing, which is another reason you should go start with the job and then have them pay for it, because it's pretty costly. It's probably like $10,000 altogether. Any questions about going through the CFP program?
So I have a question. If
Mhm.
your firm pays you to get your CFP, CPA, whatever you want to get, is it kind of like a commitment to stay in that firm?
That's a really good question. Yeah, that in my mind, yes, because they're investing in me to go through and get the CFP. I don't think they wouldn't be able to take it away from me if I decided to no longer work for them, because it's all paid up in advance, and then the classes are paid for. They can't just, unpay for them. But I do think it's just kind of like a courtesy thing to stay with them. If something really horrible happened, then obviously you can leave. You shouldn't feel like you're obligated to stay, in my opinion. But I did stay. But that is a good question, and it's one I've thought about it multiple times. Um, but yeah, the way that it works is that they pay up front. So technically, no, you don't need to stay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll end with the CFP demographics as of this September. It doesn't mean much. I just wanted to show that it's so diverse. No, it's not diverse at all. I think it's really in need of some diversity to match the clientele, because like I said at the bottom, there's a lack of diversity in advisors, but not in clients, and clients want to be talking to someone they trust, and not that you wouldn't trust someone that might not necessarily look like you. It is good to feel represented in the population of advisors. Currently, over 75% are male, over 80% are white, and over 20% are over the age of 60. So clearly that does not match the demographics of the population as a whole. And again, that's why it's really important for younger people to go through the CFP program and kind of pave a way for a new age of advisors, especially female advisors. A lot of clients, especially female clients, feel that they can trust a female advisor more than a male advisor. That's like an actual data point. That's not just me saying that, but there is a lack of female advisors. So that's a very big demand. If you're a young female advisor, this is a great time to get into the field. But yeah, if you're a white male, of course, you're also welcome to the field. It's just that is very overwhelmingly older white men right now. So I kind of just want to leave it up to you to ask questions about anything regarding what I talked about, or anything that I didn't talk about that's just about the wealth management in general, or is the career, really anything that you guys want to know about.
I actually do have a question for our members. Do you guys have, do you guys have any internship opportunities for your firm?
For Bickling?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not the one in charge of it, but we always need help, especially because we're always trying to expand more. And there's always things to do around. Actually, a person who just started this past July, he was an intern last summer. He was also from Bentley, where I went to school, and it worked out really well. He kind of came and did, the boring stuff that no one else wanted to do, but it gave him a pathway into the firm, and we trusted him and we knew him. And so we offered him a full-time job. So yeah, internships are always, we're always looking for someone to come in and help with those kinds of things. I can always you can always send anyone over to my email if they are interested. We are based in Lexington, Massachusetts, which I know is far from you guys. So logistically, I don't know if that would work out for everyone, but yeah, we're always open to talk to people.
Thank you for answering my question there. Anyone on Zoom want to ask? Like, she's here now, guys. Like, let's ask some questions. I don't want to pick on people.
Yeah, I got a question.
Mhm.
Regarding like wealth management, something that's like not appealing to me, like in Equitable Advisors, Northwestern, Primerica, etc., is I
Mhm.
feel like you have to join these firms and kind of build up your own clientele. And I'd rather join an established corporation
Mhm.
that kind of already has that clientele. Is there any difference in your firm or maybe just financial planning in general that differs from that?
Yeah, that was also my conundrum when I was looking into the wealth management career was, do I join these bigger firms that are basically offering me a job because it's not really too much of a risk on their side? Um, or do I join a smaller firm that might not pay me as much and it might be a longer path to get my own clients, but in the end it would be more beneficial to me. And that's kind of, I don't want to cold call people like I was saying before. I'd rather, naturally get these clients. Um, so that is really up to you of which path you'd like to choose. But those larger firms, yeah, you most of the time, I know there are some like programs through, I know there's like a JP Morgan program that you can apply for, and it's more of a guided path rather than you. I don't know if you might have to get your own clientele eventually, or if they refer clients to you through, like, clients will come to JP Morgan and then they'll assign an advisor through you. That might be more of the pathway in these programs, but there's definitely those companies that'll basically just offer you a job, and they'll say like huge compensation like available and six-figure salaries right off the bat, and those are the kinds that are more like the sales jobs that you have to call clients and get them like referred to you. You're basically just like going through a phone book and calling them and building up your own book of business. My path that I decided to take was to go towards this company who it is a really established company. Like it was established in 1984, really solid foundation, and the clients really trust the advisors. But they are looking to expand very rapidly. Um, and and they've told me along the way that they see me in the future and they see me being a partner with them like over the next like years. That when I get my CFP, like they hope that I stay on um and start to, like kids of clients that are currently with them will come to me, and I'll start building up my book of business that way, or new referrals coming in will come to me rather than them because the advisors are very busy and they already kind of have like a full book of business. So um, that's kind of how I'm going to build up my clientele. Like, for example, I have like 3 clients right now that are kids or grandkids of current clients, and they have very simple financial plans because they're so young. They're like my age. Um, but it's a good foundation and kind of like putting my roots in the ground for them, that when they get older or they can refer um, people they know to me, and as they get older their assets will increase and I'll be the person that they trust to manage those assets. um, so it takes a longer time, but I think it's probably the easier and less painful way to go, in my opinion. But again, that's just me, and other people have different preferences. So
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you. I really do like financial planning in general, wealth management. I'm just really money oriented, and I'm scared it's not as lucrative as some other career paths in finance.
yeah, and that's, people told
Initially
me.
first too, I'm sorry. Initially.
Yeah, people told me the same thing, that you won't get any money right out of college, like as compared to if you're going to like a hedge fund. I mean, that's a really hard place to go. If you're really smart, go to a hedge fund. There's a ton of money in that. But if you're really interested in, meeting one-on-one with clients and the financial planning side of things, and seeing your work pay off in like your clients and really like seeing them throughout their lives, um, this kind of is the best pathway to go, in my opinion. And it does start kind of a smaller salary, but I think like once you get your CFP, like 6 figures is probably an easy achievement and kind of the base of where your salary should be, even in a smaller firm like this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I do have to ask another question. So obviously you are planning on getting your CFP certification. Does people or employers in the wealth management field, do they look for people who are planning on getting their CFP and also the CFA certification, or just the CFP certification? Because I have heard from some speakers we had came in the past, they've said, oh, the CFA, then the CFP, and they've said both. So just, what's your opinion on that? Are you looking for that in, potential employers?
I think in the field I'm in right now, CFP is what people are looking for. I think if you were doing more of the like, I don't know, maybe the larger companies want more of a CFA side of things, or kind of someone who can do both ends of the spectrum. But for what I want in my career and the companies I would look to work for, I mean, both are great, but I would focus on the CFP specifically for financial planning and wealth management in like one-on-one clients. And that having that CFP certification is very, very valuable. If a company sees that you have that certification and you're young, that's like, if you're young and a female and you have your CFP, like you're easy getting a job. It's very, very valuable right now. If you're young and you're a male and you have your CFP, it's also very valuable because many people that are our age don't have it.
And just another question, what career advice would you give to our members here who are potentially looking for internships for the spring and even summer of 2023?
Yeah. So I guess my advice, I don't know how it is at your school. At my school, people like the career services and the professors like really push you to look in the fall of, this is for like a full-time job, in the fall of your senior year to get a full-time job. And that's why I got a job with Marriott, is because like smaller firms like this don't hire in the fall for a summer job. So again, it's not, if you're going to go into a career like this, or if you want to get an internship in a company like this, you're going to have to use your networking skills and your connections and look a couple months before, or maybe even a month before the time frame where you want to get that internship or that full-time job. So if you want like a summer internship next year, I would say like email your professor, or email your local, you can just call your local, like a local CFP or advisor near you and see if they need help. Like people have called us and said, do you guys need any help? And I've been like, yeah, probably, just send me an email. And when they never ended up sending me an email, but if they did send me an email, then it would have been like, I would have been like, oh, this person's really, really good at, putting themselves forward, and we could use someone like that. So that's kind of how you go about getting the internships, and rather than applying through like LinkedIn or an Indeed. And yeah, just using your connections and just calling people. Like our companies are so small that I think something like that would really stand out to someone at a company.
I would just like to add something on what you just said. I have a photography business on the side. Recently I've been doing a lot of real estate photography. One thing I've been doing is like contacting these real estate offices around me and just, calling them and asking if they want like photographers, if they want my services. I've discovered that it was one of the best ways to get jobs for me, like in the photography business. But I'd say yeah, like, definitely one of the ways to get a job like this is like to call small businesses and be like, hey, you guys, want any help? I'm free, I'm available. So just adding on your.
Yeah, definitely. It's like people don't think to do it, and you would think more people would be calling wanting to interview or something, but they don't. And so people that do, it really does stick out.
So you're saying to call, would you prefer sorry, let me start over. Would you rather call closer to the summer for the smaller firms then?
Yeah, because we're not gonna, it's like projects come and go, and we'll probably be hiring for a specific project if we have one. And just knowing in the past, just knowing how my advisors think, they're not gonna say, oh yeah, we need an intern. Can you start in 6 months? They'll say, can you start in 3 weeks? Can you start next week? I guess it's more like an immediate thing. I mean, there's probably room for it to be oh, I'm finishing up school year and then I'll be available mid-June, or I'm going on vacation and I want to start beginning of July. Yeah, but I feel like most companies will have a spot for an intern to do little things here and there, like little projects throughout the summer. So
Thank you.
I have a question.
Mhm.
What was your overall, I'd say, progress? I know you said that you graduated back in 2019. So I'm guessing that you were hired between 2019 and 2020. But what was your overall progress? How satisfied are you with the kind of level of where you started and where you are now?
Yeah, I sometimes am astounded by it. I feel like I've come so far in just a couple of years. So I started with this firm in 2020 because I had a job with Marriott right out of school, and then COVID, and so I've been here for 2 years, and I think that's the other really great thing about being in such a small company is that you can really see the impact you've made on the company. So the little things that I've implemented, especially being I'm 10 years younger than anyone else here, so just being a lot more familiar with technology, that in itself has been an incredible help to the company. So I mean, that's the other thing to think about when you're talking about your value to the company, is that you guys, you're all on Zoom right now. That wasn't a thing, 2 years ago. When I was in school, we never did any meetings over Zoom. Everything was in person. So just little things like that, like implementing Salesforce, implementing SharePoint, and getting everything online, doing virtual meetings. You would be surprised that Excel is no one in the company really knew how to use Excel. So that's just more value added for people who know how to use that stuff. And being in college in the late in 2020, in the 2020 decade, 20s, I don't know, that you're using Excel, I'm assuming, constantly, and using your laptops and using programs like that. So that in itself is extremely valuable. I don't remember what the question was. If I
It
answered
was
your
just
question.
your overall progress, where you
Oh
started,
yeah,
where you
yeah,
are now.
yeah. So just it, and it's just the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And I think especially with the CFP and learning that, you just learn so much on the job. College is super important, but it doesn't compare to everything you learn when you're actually out there in the career field. And I think even in the 2 years I've been doing this, it's been incredible what I've learned, and how far I've come. And I think that you guys will have a similar experience if you go through the pathway I did.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any last minute questions for Audrey? Anybody? Once, twice, thrice. All righty then. All right, Audrey, thank you so much for coming in and speaking to our club. We definitely appreciate all the advice you gave us. And I will definitely, if anybody wants our contact info, you definitely can, email me, guys. I will definitely send you over contact info. But yeah, thank you so much, Audrey, for speaking to us today.
You're welcome. Thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah, if you have any questions, even if you don't want a job or anything, like if you want to just talk to me, I'm always down to have a one-on-one conversation with anyone who's interested in the field. So looking forward to that.
You guys, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so
Wealth
much.
Management, everyone stay behind.
You.
Announcements to make. Thank
Bye.
you, Audrey. Bye.